Splatoon 3 Side Order came out February 22nd, 2024, which means I am incredibly late to the party here, but what's new? In total, I've put somewhere above 20 runs into Side Order, 100% of the game, though saying you 100%ed Side Order isn't exactly the biggest accomplishment. Regardless, I've played the game, and then I've played it like another 5 times for this review. It's in my opinion that Side Order itself is just serviceable. That's it though, nothing really special, especially compared to what came before it. It's not that Side Order isn't fun, by all means it is, at least for your first like 10 runs, and assuming each run takes you around like 30 minutes, then that means you're only going to get a really good enjoying of it for like 5 hours. But the replayability is something we're going to get on later. In this video, we're going to go over the game's story, gameplay loop, music, how it stacks up to other Splatoon campaigns, and why the time it released in was so important, and how important it was for Splatoon 3. And finally, was Side Order worth it? Alright, let's begin. I'm going to be totally honest with you. The reason I put the word biased in this title is because I really don't have a whole lot of praise for the story. Although really, if you're buying a Nintendo game for the story, you've already made a mistake. We're going to judge it for what it is regardless. Side Order's campaign starts out with an unholy amount of exposition. Like, seriously, the amount of yapping about things that are very basic and easy for someone to figure out on their own is insane and completely unnecessary. This is primarily during the 10-floor tutorial run and through your first run, so eventually it gets better, but when you're on your first run and playing through the tutorial, it's impossible to feel like the game is doing like anything more than just incessantly talking to you. With that part out of the way, what about the actual story? Well, in terms of Splatoon standards, it's serviceable, I guess. Spoiler alerts before we get any further into that, though it's not like your life is going to be worse if you don't get to experience Side Order blind. You wake up as Agent 8 in a weird bleached version of Inkopolis Square and find Pearl, who is now a drone, and head right into Deca Tower where you meet Oct. Right after fighting your first group of enemies, the Gelatins, I actually really like these guys, but I'm going to talk about that during the gameplay section, you do your 10-floor tutorial until you hit the first boss, a mind-controlled Marina. You win, you meet Order, who then promptly throws you out of the tower. Back in the Order sector, Marina Expo dumps on you for a bit on who Order is, where you are, why Pearl's a drone, all that stuff. Anyway, you head back into the Spire of Order and clear like 28 floors, 2 bosses, till you're able to confront Order again. Which, I would be lying if I said this isn't one of the coolest bosses in the series, which once again is something we'll talk about in gameplay. Agent 8 and our girls lose in the first phase, and Order begins the grayscaling process, taking away the free will of all beings not in the Memverse, but due to the power of the hearts and souls or whatever, the girls all wake up and have an emotional, quote-unquote, final battle with Order. They win, Order breaks down into little baby Smollusk. Smollusk chills out and embraces its role as the final boss. The girls are then able to leave the Order sector and go back to Inkopolis Square. That is essentially the entire story. I left out some plot elements I wanted to talk about individually. The whole reason you do what you do in Side Order isn't just to escape the Memverse. You're also tasked with stopping grayscaling, which is essentially just sanitization from Octo Expansion, just with computers instead of it being a biological process. In the Memverse, computer program made by some Octolings and led by Marina in order to save all the sanitized Octolings that got corrupted during Octo Expansion. Order was created by the wills of the Octolings coming together in their desire for an orderly world. I chose not to include all of this stuff in the actual plot synopsis because just like in the actual game, all this very important, crucial information just gets expo dumped onto you or is just somewhere in the lore. Lore is cool and all that, and it can help people get deeper involved with the game, but the stuff on the Memverse that's crucial to understanding why you're doing what you're doing, you aren't actually shown anything important in the story, you're only told about it. Show don't tell is one of the most crucial elements of storytelling, and in nearly every single instance where Side Order should have shown you something, they just dump this extremely important information on you. So Side Order doesn't exactly shine in the story department. But gameplay, now that's a positive I'm excited to talk about. Side Order is fun, a lot of fun actually. Where the story definitely isn't holding up the gameplay is a very much solid crutch for it to fall back on. If I remember correctly, Side Order is Nintendo's first shot at a roguelite, and honestly, for their first shot, they stuck the landing pretty good. Side Order has a total of 98 different possible missions, and while they're all in the same boring location, it doesn't make them any less fun, nor are they poorly designed. Like, seriously, I don't have anything directly negative to say about any of them. They all play like little micro levels, so by the time one's getting old, you're already done with it. To give some criticism though, they very much all do look the same, and it does get a little annoying, which is especially bad when quite a few of them are literally just the exact same stage design, just with the objectives switched out for other ones. It's still fun, but it just lacks creativity. Like, actually, you can count on less than both hands how many different environmentals there are in like all of Side Order. You've got the order sector, the elevator, the vending machine floors, actual levels, the 3 boss stages, Marina's boss fight, Overlord boss fight in the dark, Overlord's boss fight in the light. Yeah, that's 10 different environments you will see throughout Side Order. And I said less than both hands because 5 of them are basically the exact same thing, just with lighting. One of the biggest complaints about Side Order is that it just looks so visually boring, and I could not agree more. Side Order really is saved by the fact that the challenges are fun, and that it's the fun of making all these different unique builds with the color chips you'll collect along the way. Being overpowered is fun for sure. The only thing I don't like about the color chips is that you really don't get to spend a whole lot of time with the overpowered weapons and builds you make. You've made an actually powerful build by like level 20, and at that point you've got 9 levels and a boss to actually use it on. I really wish we could have gotten the options to save our color chip palettes to use throughout like an entire run. It takes the challenge away, but it's fun nonetheless, and it's not like Side Order is all that challenging anyway. Like, seriously, it's a skill issue if this game takes you anything longer than like 2 hours to beat on your first run. That includes the 10-4 tutorial levels and the expo dumps you get at the start. And I guess that's another thing we can dive deeper on. Side Order really was not that difficult, and it only gets easier the more hacks you acquire through the game. And I don't want to hear you say, well, you don't have to play with any hacks, and the Agent 8 palette penalizes you for using hacks. 1. The game actively encourages you to get more hacks. 2. The 8 palette is literally easier if you just forsake color chips in exchange for using more hacks. I beat 8's palette in my first run because I just stacked on hacks. You shouldn't have to handicap yourself in order to have an actually challenging time playing it. Side Order is a roguelite. One of the core parts of the genre is having to play through stuff you already played through because you made a mistake on your way and had to restart. In my entire time with the game, I failed one run, my actual first run. Everything after that has been completely easy. And it's not like I'm all that good at Splatoon either. Like, I'm the definition of average to slightly above average, very big emphasis on slightly. Octo Expansion's Inner Agent 3 had me banging my controller against the table, screaming after an hour of playing. I spent a whole 2-hour stream trying to beat 3's After Alterna. 8's palette in particular is the biggest offender in terms of lack of challenge. I was fully ready to soak like 5 to 10 runs trying to beat it, only to find out if you just stack into hacks against the game's advice, it's completely easy. Honestly, it was easier than a normal run, which really sucks because some of the most memorable parts of Splatoon's campaigns are the absurdly hard secret levels. Side Order completely dropped the ball on that, and there's absolutely no excuse for it. Despite all of my criticisms of the gameplay, I can't emphasize enough that this game is still fun. Like, actually, how much fun it really is its only redeeming quality in my eyes. And it does do it really well. Got 20 minutes to spare, you can easily get a Side Order run in, and you'll have fun doing it. Side Order feels and plays more like another mode in the game than it does an actual campaign, which is completely fine. But when this launched, we were all expecting a good campaign, which absolutely can be done in the roguelike and light genre. What Side Order actually is just a fun thing to play, but to me, Splatoon 3 only really got one story mode and a fun little side activity you can play offline, not a second story mode. Repetition very much is a problem that exists in Side Order. While there's 90-something total levels, it certainly doesn't feel like it. And due to the limited weapons they let you use, it won't take you long to find a build that works for you on every weapon and then feel like you've just had enough of what the game has to offer and then be done with it. Nintendo advertised Side Order as being highly replayable. It's replayable, just not something you're going to find yourself actively wanting to do after so many runs. Part of that's due to the weapon selection, part of that's due to the bland game design, part of that's due to poor story, all that stuff. But to give Side Order a well-needed W, let's talk about the gelatins. I said I would talk about them earlier. Being the first truly new enemy type to the series, Nintendo cooked here. The gelatins are fun to fight. They approach you completely differently compared to the Octarians, who we've fought against for like 4 campaigns now. One minor detail I really like about them is the actual knockback they have when you shoot them. I don't know why, I just really like how they actively respond to being shot rather than just sitting there and continuing to do the same thing. There's 12 different types of gelatins, all of them play completely different to each other. This is in contrast to the technically 33 Octarian enemy types that somehow all manage to play the exact same way as each other. Sometimes less truly is more, because I definitely preferred fighting the gelatins over the Octarians. And on the subject of enemies, let's talk about bosses. Honestly, no complaints here. I really liked all 5 bosses. If I had to give any, I wish we would have gotten 6 bosses just to help add some more variety to the boss battle floors, but the 3 you'll see most of the time are good. Marina's fight's a good tutorial, the Overlord boss is a fun place to unleash the powerful build you've made over the last like 29 floors. The other 3 are the important ones though. Asynchronous Rondo, Parallel Cannons, and forgive me if I messed up the pronunciation on this one, Pinging Martial. They're all really good. Rondo has the coolest environment in the game by far. The boss fight is pretty boring, but I can't even complain about that when the boss fight theme goes so unfathomably hard. When it's using Stingray on you, it is a genuine challenge to stay away from it. And despite me just calling the fight boring, it's my favorite boss of the 3 normal bosses. Parallel Cannons is definitely my least favorite of the 3. I kinda just view it as another Octoling Rendezvous level from Splatoon 1 and 2. The biggest gimmick of the parallels is that you're fighting your Agent 4 character from Splatoon 2, and that gimmick wears off pretty quickly. Actually, in reality, I didn't even notice it at first glance. I think this is definitely the easiest of the 3 bosses, especially when you're like using a charger with something stacked on like homing shots for color chips. Overall, I didn't like this one. Pinging Martial, on the other hand, that's my boy right there. That fight is fun. I like having to be constantly aware of its trajectory and where it's going. The occasional hazards it throws at you are cool too. I don't know, man, I just enjoy this fight. Just like Side Order in general, it's not all that special, but you'll enjoy your time playing it. To wrap up gameplay though, it's fun, it really is, but it's something you need to take in small doses, which is what I think Nintendo had intended, which if that's what they wanted to, then good, they achieved it. Personally, would I have rathered a more traditional campaign like Octo Expansion? Definitely, but despite its flaws, Side Order feels like a fun game, because it is. Now, let's talk about music. So this section was originally intended to go way differently. I was just gonna glaze Side Order's music for like 2 to 4 minutes, but while I was watching Captain Astronaut's Did Splatoon Make a Comeback video where he talked about Side Order's music, it really made me want to take a different approach here. Personally, I adore Side Order's soundtrack, which may sound a bit weird considering I've been pretty harsh on the game so far, but no, honestly, I loved it. In his video, he had a Venn diagram that essentially said, and I'm quoting this from memory, so if I'm not totally right in it, then please forgive me. The music is good in context, the music is good separately, and the music is just good. He listed it as the music only being good in context. Personally, I see it completely differently. Total nerd moment here, but I think, like, honest to God, I've probably spent more time listening to Side Order's soundtrack than actually playing the game. Like, I'm listening to it right now while writing the script. Is it something you can blast with the boys? Hell no, but the majority of game soundtracks aren't anyway. Specifically, all the variations of jitters, routines, demolitions, all the boss themes, and the entrance themes. Like, dude, the Splatoon music autism hits so hard when you're in the gym. The super fast pace and just pure chaos of the random sounds being smashed together just really fits doing anything intense in day-to-day life for me. Like, if I'm on the highway and Jitters 3 or Cold Storage comes on, I'm about to make that one enemy fish look like a snail and totally not commit any traffic violations. Side Order's soundtrack has a chaotic, high-stakes vibe to it, and for me personally, it makes me love it. Also, the majority of the songs don't have any gargling piss lyrics in them, so if you really were dedicated enough, you could probably sneak a song or two into a workout playlist without anyone noticing. So for me personally, it would fall into the middle category of the music is just good. We've got 2 categories left that I really want to focus in on. Both of them are about context. The context of Side Order's existence compared to other Splatoon campaigns, and the context of Side Order's release. First one up is Side Order compared to other Splatoon campaigns. Let's deal with the easy ones first. Side Order is better than Hero Mode 1 and 2. Nothing left to say there, but Mammalians and Octo Expansion, yeah, no. I feel like it's a really niche opinion to have, thinking that Side Order is better than either of those two. There's constant debate over whether Mammalians or Octo Expansion is the best campaign, but it's a complete rarity to see people saying that Side Order is the best, and for good reason. Both Octo Expansion and Mammalians have good stories, especially for being Nintendo games. Octo in particular, especially, like, alright, let me just gush here for a sec. Would you guys watch an Octo Expansion review? Because Lord knows I could go on for a while about Octo. Anyway, Octo Expansion raised the bar for story modes and what they could be in a Nintendo game. Granted, the bar was in hell and couldn't go any lower, but Octo's story is so completely out of left field in a good way that it makes you feel like you aren't even playing a Nintendo game. Story always comes second in their games, but oh my goodness, Octo's story was nowhere near close to being a backseat driver thing as it was in like every other Nintendo game. Open themes about dealing with racism, oppression, isolation, persevering through insurmountable odds. Dude, Octo's story was just so good, and the gameplay too, chef's kiss. I honestly can't believe they sold Octo for $20 because that masterpiece is worth at least like $40. Alright, back on track though. The reason I'm talking so much about this is because this was the first Splatoon story DLC, and the bar was set very, very high, even after Mammalians. While I don't think that campaign was nearly as impactful, it still had its deep moments, just not really so until Grizz was directly involved. Side Order not really having a compelling story really hurts it compared to the other games it's related to. The most prominent thing I see when ranking the campaigns is always putting Side Order in third place. Every other game there's debate over, but Side Order is always third. Both hero modes fight for 4th and 5th place, and Octo and Mammalians fight over 1st and 2nd. And it's completely to do with gameplay and story. That's why those two are the things that I like hyper fixated on in this video. Its story was definitely better than the first two games, and it's not a glorified tutorial, which means the gameplay is more interesting to anyone who's already played more than like 10 hours of Splatoon. But the lack of Octo and 3's level of compelling storytelling makes it much worse in that department. And while Side Order's levels are fun, can you name one level in Side Order that isn't Cruel Siphon, and was it as iconic as Girl Power from Octo? Was there anything more fun in Side Order than those Zepcaster levels from Mammalians? For the vast majority of people, that answer is no, and at the time Side Order released, Splatoon 3 desperately needed a campaign as hype as Mammalians or Octo, which isn't something we got, and that leads us perfectly into talking about the context that Side Order released in. Splatoon 3 Year 1. Dear Lord, if I could describe it in one phrase, it would be 2 steps forward, Splatoon 3 steps back. See what I did there? It was funny. It was so funny. In case you forgot, let me refresh you. This was the time period where we weren't getting event Splatfests, Tricolor was almost always an unbalanced mess, in months we would get big runs, we wouldn't get Splatfests. The quote-unquote Wave 1 DLC dropped, and let's be real here, this literally only existed just to tack on an extra $5 to Side Order because they even managed to mess up bringing back something as stupid as the Plaza. The maps were even worse than they currently are now. We were still getting garbage weapon kits all the way back then. Splatoon 3 was not in good shape, and the majority of the community wasn't willing to admit that for a while. It wasn't until around the time of Side Order's release that we started seeing people finally start to speak up on the fact that Nintendo had been consistently dropping the ball with this game. Also, the fact that this game didn't drop until like 5 months after we hit the game's second year most certainly didn't help. Like, oh my lord, there was over a year in between announcement of Side Order and its launch. Whoever at Nintendo made the decision to do that should be under serious review. It was a completely irresponsible and stupid thing to do. Regardless, Splatoon 3's flaws weren't able to be hidden anymore. Not to the point where the Splatoon series was in a make or break situation, because dear lord, Splatoon 3 glazers are vicious in their behavior. But a lot of people were definitely starting to question whether or not Side Order was going to be enough of a banger to justify the lack of content we got in the first year and 5 months, and the poor quality of it at that. So, was it? Nope. We needed a literal peak from Nintendo in order to turn Splatoon 3 around back in the direction it should have been going, and Side Order just wasn't enough to rise to the occasion. It couldn't justify the bad kits, bad maps, poor Tricolor, and inconsistent update cycle. It spiked interest in the game for a little bit, but that interest died right back down less than a month after launch. People ask all the time why we never got third kits in Splatoon 3 when Splatoon 2 got multiple content extensions. That's because despite its poor state now, Splatoon, for lack of better words, was a lot more fresh back then. That's not an opinion either, that's sales numbers speaking. Splatoon 2's sales numbers went up consistently throughout its entire life cycle, versus Splatoon 3's that just completely flatlined after 3 months. And while we can't see DLC sales numbers, I'd bet my whole channel on Octo Expansion selling more than Side Order even before Octo got brought to Switch Online. Honestly, I'd bet Side Order still hasn't beaten Octo. Side Order needed to be a must-play for everyone. I know so many people that got into Splatoon because they heard how amazing Octo Expansion was, and unfortunately for all parties involved, Side Order wasn't that for Splatoon 3. I think if it was, we would have gotten the content extension in our fabled third kits. Alright, let's summarize here. Side Order didn't have a good story, dropped the ball in a lot of areas, but that doesn't mean it's not a fun game though, because it is a lot of fun even if it's not exactly what you expected it to be and despite its flaws in what it's trying to be. It's a game you can sit down for like an hour and play and then leave feeling like you haven't wasted your time. It's the epitome of a serviceable game, but compared to what came before it and what it needed to be, unfortunately it missed the mark. So yeah, that's my extremely biased review of Side Order. If I had to rate it out of 10, I would give it a solid 6.5. Spoiler alert for the inevitable biased review of Octo Expansion, I give it a 9. If for some reason you haven't played Side Order, is it worth the $25? Absolutely. It's not like it's that expensive. I think $25 is a very fair price for what you're getting, and you'll be hard-pressed to find anyone disagreeing with that. Side Order's a good game. It's deeply flawed though, but you'll still have fun. But to me, that fun is surface level. It's like playing a Mario game, you know, mindless entertainment, something you can turn your brain off and just enjoy, which actually is something I want to bring up real quick. No Splatoon game is supposed to be a turn your brain off and have fun game, besides side order. You need to be hyper engaged in all the game modes besides side order. The only time you need to like actually lock in during it is when you've hit your last life and don't have a vending machine coming up for a little bit. And that factor probably contributed to why it had such a lukewarm reception compared to the other games. Alright, and that for real is the end of my thoughts. If you liked the video, make sure to leave a like so other people can get exposed to my 7 years of Splatoon brain rot, maybe even subscribe too, because I promise you that Octo review is going to absolutely feed the streets. I made up my mind, I don't care if no one asks for it, you're getting a hyper analysis of Octo Expansion and everything that makes it Nintendo's best game ever released and ever will be released. But anyways gamers, that's it from me, see ya.